Nikolai Polyakov was born October 2nd, 1900 in Latvia, which is a northeastern European country over by Russia. He was born into kind of a poor family. He didn't have a lot, and this was right before the First World War happened, so people in that part of the world were really struggling financially. The economy was not really good. So at the age of 8, he actually runs away from home and he joins the circus.
If you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the pain. Go away.
So he meets Vitaly Lazarenko, who is a clown acrobat professional in the circus, and he basically becomes an apprentice under him. So he kind of just interns underneath Vitaly around the world. They go around for about 7 years until 1915, when Nikolai is actually enlisted into the Imperial Army. So this is the beginning of the Russian Revolution. Their civil war is happening, okay? So the Bolsheviks, who are, you can think of them as the peasants, the poor people, they were also the redcoats. They basically overthrew the government. The Imperial Army, or the whitecoats, were the government, and they were overthrown. So basically, that's a big problem because they were Marxists. And if you don't know anything about Marxism, well, think of Korea, South Korea. Great example. Marxism is basically communism and government control over every single aspect of your life. So when this happens, this ultimately leads to Russia joining World War I. So Nikolai joins the circus again. He goes back to where he was, and it's 1919 now. And he actually is in Latvia. He's in Riga, Latvia, and he meets Valentina, who he meets and marries, like right off the bat. He was like, this is the one, we're getting married. So they get married, and they travel in the circus together. So they're traveling, they're in the circus together, and 1926 gets here, and they're like, okay, we want to run a circus. So they run a circus for about 4 years of 20 people. So they literally had their own circus. Then it's 1930, and they're performing, they're doing their thing. So they meet this guy, Bertman Mills, who has his own circus called the Bertman Mills Circus. And he gives them an amazing offer. And he's like, okay, I want you to be in my circus. I want you to move to England. And I want you to be in my circus. So in 1930, Nikolai he packs his stuff, and he goes to England. He lives in England, and he travels with this circus. And then in 1934, his family joins him. So at this point in his life, in 1934, he had a son, Michael, and a bunch of daughters. He had Tamara, Helen, Nadia, Olga, and I think Chacha was also a guy, but I don't know. I couldn't really find much information on his kids. I found a lot of information on Michael because he was also a clown, and it's also said that some of the girls were clowns as well, but it just kind of seemed like some of the kids just didn't want to be found, if that makes sense. Like, their family was quite famous, and I think that they, like, at this point just kind of wanted some privacy. So I couldn't find much information on them, but all of those people, they go ahead and they move themselves to England. So they are working, some of them are, working for the war, some of them are also working in the circus with their father. And in 1939, Michael, who I believe was the oldest, joins the Entertainment National Service Association, or the ENSA, which is basically, from what I gathered, the information in short, it's kind of this association that puts on performances for people in the special forces, so like in the military. And so he was literally a clown performing for the military, which I think was really awesome and, pretty noble of him.
Baby, wait, I know that you're afraid, but it'll be okay if you just stay with me, and we can run from here, and we can disappear, and they won't find us where we are going, dear. So baby, hold on to me, 'cause I know I can make you believe.
So now it is 1940, and Bertman Mills Circus actually had to close because the war is here. Like, World War I has started. It's not a pretty sight, right? Especially for this part of Europe. So fortunately for Nikolai and his family, there was a circus that decided to stay open, and it was called the Blackpool Tower Circus. And it's actually still open. You can still go to it today. I don't know about COVID rules, but you can definitely check it out. Google it. It's called the Blackpool Tower Circus, and it's mainly still in the UK, but they may travel. I don't know. I didn't really get far into that. I didn't want to get lost in that rabbit hole, but it's still pretty cool that they're open still today. So it's 1946 now, and Bertman reopens. They've been traveling with the Blackpool Tower Circus, which is awesome because they were still able to work and make money, but then their home reopens again, and they go home. They go back to Bertman Mills, and they start traveling with them again. So it was said that Michael and Sasha were a part of this as well. They were traveling with their father, and they became August clowns. So these clowns were typically shown with white face paint, but they also kind of had the quote-unquote hobo look. They usually had the little stick hobo bag thing, and they were typically happy, but they were also kind of dirty and kind of weird looking. But it was their style. It was the different type of clowns, and it's kind of cool. If you look into the history of clowns, there's different types of clowns, just like there's different types of drag and different types of glamour makeup and all this type of stuff. It's just a different type of art, which I thought was really cute and fun.
I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Die. Wait. Die. Wait.
Whatever you want, I'll be whatever you want. Just tell me you love me or not, whatever it costs. I know I'm talking a lot, there's something I gotta get off. Don't wanna be this no more, I don't wanna drink no more. Always gotta do the most, thinking that I'm insecure. Really should've listened more, but I don't, of course. I'm an asshole, I'm a good guy.
So all three of these clowns were different variations of the same clown, Coco the clown. They were said that they are not, you know, if you're a clown, you can't use somebody else's face. You gotta use your own face. It's like a rule of thumb. You don't do that kind of a thing. But it is okay to kind of change and borrow ideas, kind of like, you know, makeup. And yeah, so they all were Coco the clown, and they just kind of put their own twist to it. So I thought it was cool, and I created, you know, one look out of the two that I could find. I really couldn't find much on Graham at all either. Like I said, the kids kind of seemed like they all wanted to just be left alone and, you know, live their lives clown free, which I don't blame them, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I thought it was really cute how this was just like a family of circus people. It was just, you know, I think that's typically what happens, but it was really interesting to me how they all chose to be clowns. You know, I figure that kind of a thing, one person would be an acrobat, the other person would be, you know, a lion tamer or whatever you do in a circus, but they were all clowns. They were all clowns. I thought that was so cute.
I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Won't die. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die?
I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die.
When it hurts like this, we climb the greatest heights.
So at this time in 1959, Michael, his oldest, actually gets married to someone named Hazel Feynman, and then in 1961 he is actually hired with Ringling Brothers, which I'm sure you've heard of. It was a huge circus. It is no longer going on, I don't think, but yeah, I actually saw it as a little girl, which is crazy. So yeah, he is hired with Ringling, and he travels around the world with Ringling for 5 years until in 1966 when he's hired by McDonald's. He actually was in 8 of the first commercials of Ronald McDonald. He was like the guy. So he was hired by McDonald's. He was in the commercials, and well, in 8 of them anyway. And then they also hired him to recreate and redesign Ronald McDonald to what we know today. Like the Ronald McDonald, you know? Yeah, he designed him. Like he was him first. Can you believe that? So he's working for McDonald's, he's doing these commercials, and then in 1967 he joins Robert Brothers Circus, and he does that until he retires. He retires and moves to Kentucky. He lived in Europe for the majority, well, he traveled for a lot of his life, okay? But when he retired, I thought it was really cute. He just chose a farm in the middle of Kentucky, and he lives there until he dies in 2009. You know? I thought that was really cute. Nikolai and his family continued to travel with the circus, you know. They did this for about 14 more years before Nikolai was in a road accident in 1960. I really couldn't find much information on the road accident, whether it was just like a car accident or if he was hit by a car. I couldn't really figure it out. There wasn't much on that, but he basically was hurt enough and was old enough at this point to kind of not really retire, but kind of retire to the sidelines. He wound up selling tickets for the remainder of his career. He would sit outside, either in the hallway outside of the circus and sell tickets, or he would collect ticket stubs, and he would just be there, and he would still be able to, be himself and have fun and make money, but unfortunately he couldn't do his act the way he used to because he was a little bit older at this point, but then also he was hurt in the road accident. In 1963, he was awarded with the Order of the British Empire Award, or the OBE Award. This is an award that honors art and science contributions and charity and civil service contributions, so it is definitely a very high honor. Nikolai sold tickets on the sidelines until 74 when he died. He literally spent his whole entire life in the circus, which I think is beautiful. I think that's dedication at its finest.